All right. So I am going to break down the last 6 signs of the zodiac, and I'm not going to drag it out like I did um, before. So I'm gonna make it real brief and easy to understand, so I can move on. So we're gonna start with Libra. Libra being an air sign out of the 4 elements, it is centered around ideas and communicating. It being a cardinal sign in astrology, that is a sign that initiates. So it initiates new ways to communicate and present ideals and stuff. So this is the air sign, air quality, and it correlates to the 7th house in the birth chart, which is the house of relationships. That in the 7th house in the birth chart reflects what we look for in a partner, as well as what we reflect to ourselves, as far as like our personality. A lot of people say it's the shadow side, because now it's like, just like Libra is entering into the lower self, the lower half of your body, the lower desires and things, money, materials, relationships, people, and stuff. So this is, and it's an air sign. It's ruled by Venus, so Venus has to do a lot with what we appreciate and love and value. But a lot of things that we may value may just very much so be superficial, which is why Libra can also be considered a superficial sign a lot of the times. But like I said, it correlates to the 7th house in the birth chart. So whatever sign you have in your 7th house is how you do your relationship energy, and how the energy that you put into your relationships, as well as what you get back and stuff. So that is the 7th house in Libra, and Libra is a masculine sign because it expresses, it's air. Air is more communicative, so it's external. That's the external force. That's what makes it masculine, as opposed to a feminine sign, which is more receptive, more internalizing things. This air is more predicated on expressing ideals. So it's outward, masculine. The planet, Libra, is ruled by Venus. Venus is our values, our way of compromise and love and appreciation. Is the masculine ruler of Venus. Venus has a feminine ruler too, which is Taurus. But we're talking about the masculine. So this is the expressive, the love that gets put out, not the love that we receive from the world and feel. So that's what makes it a masculine sign. And it's Venus is a sufficient energy when it's in Libra, because that's the energy we put into our relationships, love and compromise, in order for them to exist and be stable. And Libra also, Mars is debilitated in Libra, because Mars is the planet of being direct, passionate, aggressive, willpower, drive. This is because it being the relationship sign, Mars is more of a competitive energy, and not necessarily about cooperative or being compromising. So this is what makes Mars weaken in Libra, because that's not an element that is good for relationships. Being that it's a competitive energy, it's a confronting energy. Then Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn being the planet of structure, discipline, limitations, and boundaries, is an important element and when in any of your relationships, boundaries, structure, and an understanding of status, and even discipline. You gotta maintain a level of discipline when interacting or cooperating with others. So this is why Saturn is exalted in Libra, and exalted just means raised or elevated and stuff. So that's that. The constellations surrounding Libra is Lupus, Boots, Corvus, Centaurus, Scorpius, and Virgo, and Hydra. And that group of stars is what astronomers are considering to be, no, what astrologers are considering to be Libra. That whole group of stars, not the one constellation itself, which is what it is in astronomy. And that's the Libra sign in a nutshell. Learning to, and it's the motto is for Libra is I balance. So they're learning to balance between their interests and values and what they compromise with, as well as what their partner, and trying to blend those things, what they want, what they're willing to do for their partner, what they're willing not to do. And they have to find the balance of not being an overbearing partner, but also being underwhelming or too compromising. So this is where the scales, the theme of the scales come in, which is what Libra means in Latin, scales. And yep, that's Libra. And it rules the back, the hips, the lower back, hips, kidneys, and stuff, the lower half of the body, really. That's Libra. And so we move on now. All right, so Scorpio is the middle of the autumn season. That is the time of Scorpio. It spans from October 23rd to November 21st. It's the fixed sign of water, the element water, emotions, connections, and intuition, sensitivity stuff. So it is fixated on the emotions and certain emotions and certain connections in their life. It correlates to the 8th house in the birth chart. The 8th house, shared values, joint resources. And so this deals with resources one shares with others, and the gains from personal relationships and stuff. So it can also be a house of occult mysticism, sex, transformation. A lot of the times, those are the themes of the 8th house, because upon having shared values in your relationships, you go through a lot of transformation, a lot of evolving or changing of your ways, sudden changes, sudden values having to be let go, not because they're no longer useful and stuff. So this is what makes it a deep occult and mystic house, because one learns the psychological behavior of others through trauma and fear and things not wanting to be let go. So is a very significant house, like all of the other ones. But the 8th house, whatever sign you have there, is the sign that how you deal with this specific aspect of your life. And it's a feminine sign, being that it's a water sign. Scorpio is a water sign, and is receptive, because the emotions are a receptive nature. So That's the 8th house. That's Scorpio, fixed water, feminine, and it's ruled by the planet Mars. Mars being the passion, intent, drive. Scorpios internalize their passions and drive and hold on to them, which is what can make them seem, which is what makes them the fixed sign or fixed water, because they find fixed intents or things that they can emotionally connect to and hold on to those things. So those attachments become passionate or destructional, self-destructional, because it's Mars. So it's all about knowing what to let go and what to transform with the Scorpio energy. It's all about transformation. And you know, this is why they say it is a mystic or a cult house. A cult means hidden, and a lot of the things associated with that word is witchcraft and stuff, or like spooky things, but that's because transformation does not necessarily have a pretty or a very it's not guaranteed a beautiful presentation. This is why Venus also is debilitated in Scorpio, being due to not wanting to, this nature of Scorpio is holding on to certain emotions and passions, and that makes it hard for one to compromise due to passions and intent not being met, and collision with others' intent. So it's Venus is a weakened energy when it comes to Scorpio. It doesn't do well whenever it's in Scorpio, and the moon falls in Scorpio. And the moon, being our emotions and how we react and respond, as well as our subconscious, what makes us feel comfortable. It doesn't do well in Scorpio, being in the transformative sign. Transformation can be intense. It can be sudden. The emotions don't. When it comes to the moon, it's more of being comforted, emotionally connecting, being nurturing in the sort, being empathetic, and upon being in a situation where things have to be let go, or certain desires seem hard to obtain, it may be hard, to find emotional comfortability, at least for a long time, being with the moon being in Scorpio. It could play out as a very intense situation, being that Scorpio is transformative. So the emotions may go through a lot of transformative states and may look very chaotic person emotionally, when it comes to, if you even have moon in Scorpio. But that's the moon, it falls in Scorpio, and one tends to not know how to react in certain instances. Uranus is the exaltation of Scorpio, and exaltation just means raised or elevated. So it being in Scorpio, the individual planet being, it being the individual planet, is how we show our uniqueness, and how we rebel against things. That's what it represents in astrology. Uranus being in Scorpio is exalted there because Scorpios often go through transformational aspects which cause them to change or rebel against something previous in their life, causing them to adjust, be more unique in some sort of way. And that energy is elevated being in the house of shared values and resources, being in the sign of Scorpio, shared values and resources, and learning to adjust in order to continue or those shared values, shared values and desires of longevity and things like that. So, and that's all. And yeah, I said Venus is debilitated, Mars, and yeah. So that's pretty much everything. The planets for Scorpio, and then the constellation in astronomy got its name from the Greek story of when the goddess Gaia sent a giant scorpion to kill the hunter Orion for being boastful and claiming he could kill every animal on Earth. It also can refer to the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. The constellation is home to the star Antares, which comes from the Greek word like Mars. Antares is known in religious texts, like the Catholic texts and stuff, as Archangel Uriel or the Watcher of the West. The star name in astronomy is Alpha Scorpii, and it's the constellation Scorpius is surrounded by Centaurus, Libra, Boots, Lupus, Ophiuchus, Ara, Serpens, and Sagittarius. And this particular group of stars is what astrologers are calling Scorpio in astrology. God damn. This particular group of stars is what astronomers is calling Scorpio in astrology, not the constellation itself. And the motto is I desire. That's the motto for Scorpio. They have to learn how to transform these desires and not be led by these desires, but also not neglect what they desire, find some sense of fulfillment. And Scorpio rules the reproductive organs, genitals, and urinary tract. Okay, now we got Sag. Sag is the last phase of autumn. It spans from November 22nd to December 21st. It's mutable, fire expression, creative expression, and feelings. That is what fire represents in astrology. And it being mutable, it likes to adapt. That means change, liable to change. So because it teeters between the end of fall and the beginning of winter in Capricorn, it is a mutable sign, duality. It was experiencing change from one season to the other. That is mutable fire. So in astrology, that represents adapting or changing your way of expression in order to be more what's the word I want to say? Be more adaptable in your way of expression to other people's way of expression. Let's just put it that way. Mutable, mutual. It also correlates to the 9th house in the birth chart. The 9th house represents long-term travel, wisdom, exploration, higher learning, foreign learning, religious beliefs and stuff. So this is the house of philosophy. And the 9th house in the birth chart, whatever sign you have there, is how you like to expand your mind, expand your consciousness, and what you experience as your everyday normal circumstances. and stuff. This is why they say long-term travel. And it doesn't necessarily have to be long-term like in the car. It's just far out thoughts. So you being able to have more expansive thoughts, see a bigger picture than what you were seeing before. And that's what the ninth house represents in the birth chart, which is in correlation to Sagittarius. It's also a masculine sign because it's fire, so it's expressive. It externalizes the feelings and the expressions and the visions. The planet Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Jupiter is planet of expansion, abundance, due to, you know, our will to experience. So it being Sag is sufficient there because it's a will to learn, to expand your philosophy on life and know the meaning of things. This is what makes Sagittarius, and Jupiter is a social planet. So, you know, it's the will to experience. That's the will to be. That requires a social or a sociable person. So this is what makes, you know, going back to the mutable sign of the mutable element of the Sagittarius, them being ruled by Jupiter, you know, this makes them sociable. This is how they expand their consciousness and learn through their experiences and gain wisdom, because they're willing to actually experience and expand it through experience. So this is all just Jupiterian way of thinking, and it's Mercury is debilitated in Sagittarius because it is confined to analyzation and focusing on the details of things. And when it comes to experiences and travel, the energy of Sagittarius is more predicated on the overall picture of things. It's not the details. So it's all about it wants to learn the meaning of things and the reasonings, not the things that lead up or are results of the meaning and the reasoning, not the little issue or the little remnants of the issue itself. They just want to get straight to the issue itself. So this is what makes Mercury debilitated in Sagittarius, and it may also make it difficult for them when it comes to communicating at times, where they may be more expressive than able to have an intellectual response. It'll be more of an expressive, fiery response. And the constellation Sagittarius in astronomy is based off the Greek myth of Crotus, the archer, and Chiron, the centaur. The constellation is surrounded by Scorpius, Lupus, Hercules, Corona Australis, Ophiuchus, Capricorn, Serpens, Scutum, and all these groups of stars is what astrologers refer to as Sagittarius, not the constellation itself. So the group of stars altogether is what astrologers are referring to as Sagittarius, not the constellation itself. Okay, so yes, this sign is about learning to expand your consciousness beyond your surroundings and close environment, learning how to see the bigger picture of things, learning how to that is it. See the bigger picture things. Learn how to build your own philosophy on life. You know, that is the Sagittarius way. And the motto for Sagittarius is I see. Being that is a fire sign and a philosophical sign. So that's that. It's also it rules the thighs, and the opposite sign is Gemini and stuff. And for the Libra, it would be Aries, and for the Scorpio, it would be Taurus. And so yeah, Sag is Gemini. Now we're moving on to Capricorn, and it's the start of the winter solstice, the winter season, right around where Christmas. It spans from December 22nd to January 19th. Capricorns are all about business and career, or home and family. The modalities of Capricorn is cardinal. It is a cardinal sign, so it initiates. It's Earth, so it's practical. Initiates ways of stability, new ways of stability and security. It correlates to the 10th house, which is the house of status and career in astrology. So the 10th house being the house of your status, is how you're seen, your in the world, at work, in your career, on social networking, social media and stuff. So whatever sign you have there is how you go about your status, being whatever sign it is in your birth chart. Like if you have, let's say you have Scorpio there, you may be very behind the scenes when it comes to your status. Like you have some sense of power, but it may not be to the forefront. Or if you have, let's say you have Aquarius there. So this would be more, you probably have your status is based off of, being associated with something, being a part of a bigger group or a bigger network, and you having some kind of reputation within that network, but you're still part of something that is bigger than you. That would be like Aquarius in the 10th house. So like getting down to, and it is a feminine sign because it's Earth, so it's practical. So it takes the outside circumstance and make it practical. That is what makes it more so it's more receptive to the external instead of trying to externalize itself. So this is what makes it a feminine sign. The planets with astrology, Capricorn, Saturn rules Capricorn, being that is the Saturn rules Capricorn, being that it's the planet of structure, discipline, limitations, boundaries. This is how one goes about their status, with structure and limitations, because without those limitations, you are out of line. Your status is seen, you're seen chaotic. You're seen as you get blemishes on your status and things like that. So Saturn is very sufficient for the 10th house and things dealing with the 10th house. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, being this is taking the drive and the passion and placing it into a place where it can be most effective, and that is towards the career and the status. You look at the Capricorn, that always comes to mind is LeBron James, or even Martin Luther King, You know, like this is you seeing them taking their passion and intent and willpower and directing it. It gets put into Mars gets put into a overdrive, being in the 10th house and dealing with matters of the 10th house and stuff. So that's Mars. The moon is debilitated in Capricorn, because dealing with emotions and response and reactions. This can limit the emotions and the feeling of connection and responding if there isn't any sense of status or purpose, or some kind of public persona to it, which can make it hard to have a true emotional connection when it comes to the moon. So the moon is out of place in Capricorn, and Jupiter falls there because it deals with the will to experience. When Capricorn are focused on the status and securing a position, they often, that security limits their experiences or their will to experience without some kind of gain. So this makes them seem structured, but overly secure, one of little faith. They don't, and that's also what Jupiter represents, one's faith. So this is it's just the limitations of the mind, which is what makes Jupiter not thrive in Capricorn, because Jupiter is built off of the will to experience. So that's wisdom. That's a different kind of knowledge and take on the world. You have to have experience to gain wisdom. But Capricorn they don't like to build the knowledge through wisdom and the first time experience, because it's about the status and the image with them. So they want to be built up through an image, not through their wisdom and them actually going out and just experiencing for the sake of experiencing. That's the plan. The constellation Capricorn in astronomy is Capricornus, and is symbolized, or also known as, sea goat. The sea goat, based off of Greek myth, Pan, a satyr, which is play off the word Saturn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And then the constellation is surrounded by Sagittarius, Pisces, Austrinus, Microscopium, Aquarius, Lyra, and Aquila. And yeah, the sign of status and balancing home, family, and emotional security with public persona and actually presenting yourself to the world. The motto is I use, and for Capricorn, and the body part that it rules is the knee and the kneecaps. That is Capricorn. And we got Aquarius now, and I'm almost there. I'm almost through it, and I'm actually saving a lot more time than I did last time. So, but let's go ahead and watch Aquarius out. So it's the middle of winter now. It spans from January 20th to February 18th. It's considered the humanitarian of the Zodiac. Aquarius is considered the humanitarian of the Zodiac. Is fixed. It's fixated on air, fixed air, the elementary intellect, communication, ideals. So this makes one very reliant on their intellect, very fixated on their level of intellect, on a specific type of intellect, being fixed air. They correlate to the 11th house, which is the associations in the birth chart, who your public status, who your public games, who you're known, what you're known for, who you know, and who you're associated with. What are you part of, as far as your network? It's a masculine sign because it is expressive air, so it's expressive of the ideas, it externalizes. And the planets of Aquarius, Saturn rules Aquarius. Saturn is the masculine ruler. Now Capricorn, I didn't say it is the feminine ruler of Saturn because it's more receptive, but and responsive, but Aquarius is the masculine, so it's more expressive of Saturn. So it being Saturn being the discipline and the planet of structure, rules Aquarius. Saturn being the masculine ruler of Aquarius, is more catered towards expressing boundaries and limitations and structures. This is what makes their them consistent with their ideals, being a fixed air sign. So this makes a person who understands the use of limits and boundaries, and uses them in the most efficient way in order to be associated with something and be able to be among the public or this social. So Saturn rules Aquarius. The sun falls in Aquarius because the sun represents ego, one's way of expression, how we take action, and how we're seen. The sun, when it comes to associations and networking, this puts a dim on one's presentation or ego, or one's ability to be seen for their own uniqueness, their own individuality, their own sunlight. You know, because it's a humanitarian, is amongst people, amongst a group, and it's functioning in that kind of atmosphere, being amongst a group. That's what Aquarius does. So that's the Aquarius, for the sun falling in Aquarius. I mean, no, the sun being, it doesn't fall in Aquarius, it's debilitated. Now, Uranus is also the co-ruler of Aquarius because Uranus is the sign of rebellion, uniqueness, individuality, and change. So, you know, one being the fixed air sign, and Aquarius use the Uranus energy. Aquarius use their uniqueness and rebel against what is presented to them in order to have a sense of intellect and have a sense of security from their intellect. So this makes them an abstract thinker. This is what puts them in a position to be an abstract thinker, but it also makes them stick out amongst their associations and their group. This is what, you know, so they're amongst something, but they know how to be a unique characteristic of whatever they're amongst. So that is Uranus. This is why Uranus is the co-ruler, and it is a sufficient energy being used when it comes to Aquarius. Also Uranus deals with technology and new age stuff. So this is how we maintain our position and how our associations, due to communication and stuff, is through social media and technology. That is also the theme with Uranus and Aquarius. Also, the constellation Aquarius comes from the Latin word water carrier or water bearer. It's based off the Greek myth of the prince Ganymede, and its neighboring constellations is Pisces, Austrinus, Sculptor, Aquila, Pisces, Aquilus, and Capricornus. That group of stars in astrology is what astrologers are referring to as Aquarius, not the constellation itself that is in astronomy. And, Aquarius is the sign of associations. So this is knowing how to take your own creative gifts, finding your balance and your role amongst a larger network that, you can help thrive as far as your status and position in the world. And the motto for Aquarius is I know, and it rules the shins and the calves. Okay, so the last one is Pisces. Last but not least, Pisces, the last mutable sign from February 19th to March 20th, is the last phase of winter before we go back into spring. It's mutable, so mutable is liable to change because it's teetering between winter and spring, being the last phase of it. So Pisces is mutable water. This is adaptation to the emotions, water emotions. So this is learning how to adapt to others emotionally. That is what mutable water in Pisces represents in astrology. And it is in correlation to the 12th house in the birth chart, which deals with the subconscious mind, solitude, dreams, and delusions and imaginations. So in the 12th house, this is where we escape from reality of our social obligations, our status, and career and associations. This is how we escape that and find a form of solitude within these things, as well as a more creative understanding, more imaginative. So the 12th house is it shows the ending of cycles. It shows a emotion, a feeling, understanding of all that has been accumulated through all aspects of the other houses, and truly learning to leave those things and where they are, as far as the material and the tangible things, the things that come and go, and the things that we can't always hold, but we still experience them, our dreams, our imaginations, all these things. We don't want to even our religious beliefs, you know, or whatever. I'm not religious, but our spiritual beliefs. These are things that we have to address our lives through those lens, and actually consider, are we really as spiritual as we think we are? Do we really, you know, it puts us in the aspect to truly let things go, learn how to transcend what we have accumulated amongst the world and the public. So that is the 12th house in your birth chart, and whatever sign you have there is how you do that particular energy. Pisces is a masculine. I mean, Pisces is a feminine sign, being that it's a water sign and is receptive of others' emotions. It's an emotional sign. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, being that it's the will to experience and expand knowledge, and this is what makes Pisces able to adapt to others emotionally, knowing having a will to experience, as well as adjust themselves, be sensitive to the collective consciousness, be sensitive to the room and the overall tone, emotional tone of the room. This is what makes makes for a very intuitive person, but a very philosophical person, because it takes a very wise mindset to go through that experience. But it also, what it most importantly takes, is one who's willing to experience. This is why it's Jupiter. Jupiter also is the Pisces is the feminine ruler of Jupiter, as opposed to Sag, what would be the masculine, because it's more receptive. So being that it's a water sign, it deals with a lot of emotional connection. And that's also where it gains its wisdom and is meaning and its philosophy through the experiences that they undergo due to being sensitive to their environment in an emotional way. Pisces, Neptune is the co-ruler, because Neptune deals with our dreams, also our dreams and delusions and beliefs and stuff like that, our imagination, creative gifts, all that superstitious thinking and all that. And Neptune, this is also what makes Pisces a spiritual sign, and a sign of solitude, learning to connect with different parts of different understandings, different types of awarenesses when it comes to the emotions. So they tend to get lost into other people's emotions, and this is where this delusional state of thinking comes from. But Neptune, being that it is our what we're entertained by, what we're our creative energy, and just our overall imagination. This is what makes Pisces a very, very imaginative people and creative people, which is also a trait from water signs. So Mercury is, okay, so Neptune's the co-ruler of Pisces, is the generational planet, so it takes a long time to move. Unlike the personal planet, it takes years. It represents the influence of a generation. So entertainment, in our imagination, the things that developed our imagination over time due to the media and all that, and books and just creative outlets. So Neptune being the co-ruler Pisces, this would makes for very intuitive people who are able to get in touch with their creative side, which practices some kind of spiritual liberation. It gives Pisces that depth of thinking, but it also can distort reality, being that it's based off of imaginations and delusions, dreams, things that are not necessarily seen by others. It's just through the Pisces lens at the time, and but them knowing how to be grounded and practical and logical within their whatever they're creatively involving themselves into will make for a very creative person. Then we have Mercury is debilitated in Pisces due to the mutable water and connecting to others' emotional stance. This may make it difficult for one to communicate or logically. This may make it difficult for one a lot. Mercury is debilitated in Pisces, making it difficult for one to logically communicate based off of emotional blockages, and being too lost into creative thinking or delusional thinking. So being too much into their imagination and into the emotions to not know how to logically separate or know how to decipher the right words in order to convey the feeling that they are feeling. But they don't know. Sometimes they don't know what they're feeling because they lack boundaries, being too observant of others' feelings and emotions. This is also a gift and a curse of Venus being exalted in Pisces, and them Pisces, the energy of compromise and appreciation, which is what makes one to be creative, and a creative functioning person in society, which to some level we all need a certain amount of creativity or creative thinking in order to thrive or just maintain ourselves in society. Pisces encapsulates that with the Venus, and Venus being exalted into Pisces. Identifying the values and putting a lot of energy into those things due to the identifying the values and putting a lot of energy into those things in order to experience our fantasies or the things we live for or long for. So is Latin for fishes. The constellation is a symbol in Greek mythology with Aphrodite, goddess of love, and Eros, her son, god of love, turn themselves into fishes, and a vicious monster called Typhoon was after them, so they turned into fishes to escape. And the constellation in astronomy is surrounded by neighboring constellations: Pegasus, Aquarius, Cetus, Aries, and Triangulum. So this is a group of stars is what astrologers refer to as Pisces in astrology. And that is the end of it as far as what it represents. Now we have the overall lesson of Pisces is to be able to find a sense of peace and solitude from daily obligations and routines. And if possible, blend the two. And if possible, blend the two. The motto is "I believe," and it rules the feet, and that is pretty much the whole story. And it's the opposite to Virgo. So, you know, the first house opposite to the 7th, and the 2nd the 8th, the 3rd the 9th, the 4th the 10th, and these are, you know, Aries, Libras, Taurus, Scorpio, Gemini, Sag, in that order. And so it would be Virgo, Capricorn is Cancer, and Aquarius is Leo. And that is the oppositions, the 12 signs, and what they all represent in astrology. And I'm gonna do some more stuff on the houses and stuff. So I'm gonna try to keep it brief going forward. But that's basically what astrology is talking about and how it correlates or corresponds to your life, based off a birth chart or what they would call horoscope, right? Peace.